Have you ever asked yourself why the world rewards cunning more than virtue, and yet society clings stubbornly to the illusion that goodness alone secures survival? Consider this. The moment you convince yourself that moral purity is a shield, you have already begun to bleed. The naive belief that doing good will protect you is a quiet, deadly trap, one that drifts like fog over ambition and blinds the eyes of those who could wield power with clarity. Imagine a world where every gesture of kindness is scrutinized, where every smile is dissected for weakness, where every hand extended in aid is measured not by intent but by consequence. What would happen if you stopped striving to be good in the conventional sense, and instead had embraced the raw, unfiltered architecture of influence? Would you survive? Would you dominate? Would you understand the machinery of the world as it truly operates, beyond the comforting lies of morality? The mind of Machiavelli opens before you like a dimly lit hall, long and echoing, its walls adorned not with virtue but with strategy, calculation, and an almost surgical understanding of human frailty. He does not tell you to be cruel for cruelty's sake, nor to deceive without cause. No, his lessons are sharper, colder, more precise. Observe the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. People will betray, manipulate, and exploit. They will respect strength far more than integrity. They will love those who satisfy their ambitions and despise those who inconvenience them with morality. To be a good person, in the way society imagines, is often to be a fool, a pawn, a casualty of your own misplaced trust. Machiavelli whispers that in the theater of human ambition, virtue is a mask worn by those too weak to seize opportunity. Imagine walking through a crowded square where every face is a potential ally or enemy, every gesture a signal, every word a tool or a trap. You extend your hand, and some grasp it for friendship, others for leverage. To insist on being morally righteous in such a space is to place a target upon your chest. The intelligent observer, Machiavelli's disciple if you will, learns to navigate this square not with naive kindness, but with awareness, with discernment, with a strategic mind that measures risk and advantage with meticulous care. You begin to see the fractures in human behavior, the inconsistencies between words and intentions, the silent games played behind polite smiles. You recognize the power in choosing your battles, in masking desire, in revealing just enough to control perception while safeguarding reality. And yet, the transformation is not simple. To abandon the pursuit of conventional goodness is to confront the specter of your own conscience. Your instincts will revolt. The voice that says, "Help her, do the right thing, trust your neighbor," will shriek like a chorus of angels you've been trained to obey. But listen closer. Machiavelli teaches that the world is not an audience of angels, it is a theater of predators. The righteous often die first, the ethical stumble, and the hesitant are consumed. To survive and to thrive, you must understand the difference between personal morality and societal expedience. You must learn the weight of actions detached from emotion, the strength in decisive, even cold calculation. And only then can you manipulate the world without being destroyed by it. Power, as he would have you see it, is neither noble nor ignoble. It simply exists. It rewards those who understand it, punishes those who cling to sentiment. Those who insist upon being good are often the most vulnerable, the most visible, the most predictable. Machiavelli's lesson is stark. Your empathy can be a weapon or a weakness. You can use it to read others, to anticipate their moves, to craft influence that bends situations to your will, or you can let it blind you, and in doing so surrender yourself to the cunning, the ruthless, the prepared. The world does not spare the well-intentioned. It devours them slowly, without ceremony, often leaving only the memory of their virtue to taunt the living. Consider ambition as a chessboard, and human interaction as its pieces. Each person you encounter moves with desire, fear, envy, and hope as their unseen hands. Those who prioritize goodness above strategy are often the pawns, useful until they are sacrificed, expendable, because their ethics make them predictable. To survive, to command, to influence, you must see beyond the immediate comfort of moral righteousness. You must embrace the dissonance between inner morality and outer action, between conscience and expedience. Machiavelli does not glorify this dissonance. He merely illuminates it, holding a mirror to the world so that you can see your reflection as it truly is. Flawed, calculating, capable, alive. Now consider the subtle art of deception, not for vanity or malevolence, but as armor. When you present yourself as good, you attract both trust and exploitation. But when you learn to project strength, discern motives, and manipulate perception, you gain freedom. Freedom to act without being ensnared by expectation. Freedom to achieve without apology. Freedom to navigate a society designed to reward those who understand its rules, not those who wish it were fair. This is not a call to abandon conscience entirely. It is an invitation to recognize that conscience alone does not dictate survival. Strategy does. Observation does. Understanding the darkness in others and in yourself does. As you step further into this philosophy, notice the tension between instinct and intellect. The heart screams for morality. The mind calculates risk, advantage, and influence. Machiavelli's world favors the latter, yet it does not demand a soul without depth. It demands clarity. Clarity in action, clarity in thought, clarity in the orchestration of your presence. To stop trying to be a good person is not to become a monster. It is to cultivate precision in navigating the labyrinth of human behavior, to act with knowledge rather than impulse, to wield influence as a sculptor wields chisel and hammer, shaping reality without illusion. Power, control, manipulation, these are the tools of survival, but they are meaningless without the subtlety of understanding. The truly dangerous individual is not the brute who crushes, nor the liar who deceives recklessly, but the one who observes, calculates, and acts with unwavering purpose. Machiavelli understood this intimately. He recognized the predictable failings of those who cling to morality as a shield, and the quiet, unacknowledged power of those who move unseen, who bend circumstance without declaring war, who achieve dominion not through force alone, but through comprehension of desire, fear, and opportunity. To stop trying to be good is to embrace this. Comprehension, to step into the machinery of human behavior with eyes unclouded by sentiment. You will encounter resistance, not from the world, which always resists the naive, but from yourself, your upbringing, your societal conditioning, your illusions about fairness and virtue will scream. Yet, in embracing the Machiavellian lens, you realize that morality is a choice, not a mandate, and that choosing strategy over sentiment is not betrayal. It is survival. It is an acknowledgement that in a theater where every actor seeks advantage, acting as a pawn in service of an idealized notion of goodness is the surest path to annihilation. Only by mastering the delicate balance of perception, action, and restraint can you rise above the chaos that consumes those who cling to moral absolutes. And so, I ask you again, now with sharper focus, can you bear to look at yourself and the world without the comforting veil of goodness? Can you navigate the square of human ambition with clarity, precision, and unflinching calculation? The choice is yours. Continue to seek approval through virtue, to cling to the fragile morality of a world designed to exploit it, or step into the cold, disciplined mind of strategy, to wield influence, to survive, and to command. The first step is understanding that stopping the pursuit of goodness, in the conventional sense, is not evil. It is intelligence. It is recognition. It is the awakening of a mind that refuses to be led astray by illusion and sentiment, and instead confronts reality with eyes wide open, ready to bend circumstance to its will. The lessons of Machiavelli do not promise comfort. They promise clarity. They strip away the illusions of heroism and morality, revealing the raw interplay of desire, fear, and ambition that governs every human interaction. As you journey further, you will learn to see the world not as it pretends to be, but as it is, unforgiving, precise, and endlessly manipulable by those who understand its rules. And within this understanding lies the power to reshape not only your fate, but the fates of all who cross your path, if only you dare to embrace it fully. The world does not pause for reflection, nor does it admire restraint. It moves with ruthless rhythm, a symphony of desire and deception, of calculated ambition and subtle betrayal. To understand Machiavelli is to peer into this unrelenting current, to feel its cold force pressing against the fragile vessel of morality, and to recognize that survival, influence, and dominance are achieved not by kindness but by comprehension. You must see the faces around you as more than flesh and expression. They are moving equations of need and fear, ambition and weakness, potential allies and inevitable threats. Each word spoken is a variable, each gesture a hint, each silence a strategy waiting to be interpreted. The naive cling to goodwill as armor, But those who survive and ascend understand that armor is made of perception, control, and decisive action, not hollow virtue. Consider the predator that hides in plain sight, its movements deliberate, measured, each choice informed by a keen understanding of the environment. Machiavelli observed humanity with such precision, the subtle greed, the concealed envy, the predictable betrayal of those who wear their morality as a crown. To navigate this world effectively, you must cultivate the same gaze. You must learn to anticipate, to calculate, to manipulate without hesitation, while maintaining the appearance of innocence if necessary. The world rewards those who understand it. It punishes those who refuse to see its true nature. And yet, few ever attain this vision. Most cling to morality like a life raft, unaware that the current has already swept them into the shadows where only the clever survive. To stop being good is not to reject kindness entirely, but to reject its naive application. Every act of goodness must be weighed, measured, and considered for consequence. The world does not repay intention, it repays effect. To give without foresight is to invite exploitation. To trust without scrutiny is to court disaster. Machiavelli understood that human emotion is both a weapon and a vulnerability, a tool for leverage and a trap for the unsuspecting. Those who succeed manipulate this duality with precision. They read the desires of others, exploit their fears, and shape perceptions to craft outcomes that serve their objectives. Benevolence becomes strategy, mercy a means to an end, and morality a facade that conceals intelligence. Envision a court or a business, a battlefield or a social circle, where every participant is subtly maneuvering for position. Every compliment, every slight, every gesture carries weight. Those who act purely from conscience are visible, predictable, easily cornered. Those who act from strategy, however, are fluid, adaptable, and almost invisible in their mastery of circumstance. Machiavelli's insight was never that humans are evil, only that they are consistent in their self-interest. Recognize this, and you can anticipate reactions, manipulate outcomes, and avoid the pitfalls that ensnare the righteous. The difference between survival and ruin lies in the ability to detach from moral expectation and embrace the precision of calculated influence. Deception, then, is not merely an option, it is a necessity. Not deception for its own sake, but for clarity, for control, for dominance. To mislead is not to lie indiscriminately, but to shape perception, to guide others into decisions that favor your position without revealing the hand that moves them. A ruler, a leader, a strategist must often conceal the truth, not to harm, but to survive and to secure authority. Those who are honest to a fault are often sacrificed by those who understand the subtle mechanics of ambition. Honesty without strategy is vulnerability. Kindness without calculation is weakness. In this world, clarity of mind and purpose outweigh the empty comfort of moral approval. Observe human desire, the engine that drives every interaction. People crave recognition, respect, power, and security. They fear loss, humiliation, exposure, and betrayal. A Machiavellian mind sees these patterns as opportunities, as levers to shift outcomes, as keys to influence. To exploit them is not cruel, it is intelligent. To ignore them is folly, your conscience may murmur, warning that manipulation is wrong. But consider this, morality is rarely objective in a world governed by ambition. The good man suffers while the cunning prospers, not because virtue is punished, but because clarity and strategy are ignored. To align your actions with the mechanics of human behavior is not to corrupt the soul, it is to equip it for survival and mastery. Power is rarely seized by force alone. It is cultivated through perception, anticipation, and subtle dominance. Those who are admired for virtue often gain fleeting influence, easily overturned by those who understand leverage. Observe the silent strategist, the one who speaks little but observes much, who acts with timing so precise it seems effortless. Their victories are quiet, but absolute. They bend circumstance to will without overt conflict, exploit weaknesses without overt cruelty, and achieve influence without attachment to moral expectation. Machiavelli's lessons are not prescriptions for chaos, they are maps for navigation in a world indifferent to ethics, guided only by consequence and opportunity. To stop striving to be a good person, then, is to embrace intentionality. Every act is measured not by approval or virtue, but by efficacy and impact. Relationships are evaluated not for moral warmth, but for potential leverage and strategic value. Decisions are judged not by conscience alone, but by consequence, by alignment with desired outcomes, by their ability to shape circumstance in your favor. This does not require the abandonment of empathy. Rather, it demands its refinement. Empathy becomes insight, intuition becomes strategy, and understanding becomes power. The world ceases to be a moral battlefield and becomes a chessboard where every piece is observed, every move anticipated, and every outcome orchestrated. Fear and respect are the twin engines of influence. Those who rely solely on admiration are fragile. Those who rely solely on kindness are exposed. Machiavelli's brilliance lies in the integration of perception and effect. Command respect without inviting hatred, manipulate outcomes without appearing coercive, wield power without revealing the hand that moves it. This requires discipline, observation, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. It requires you to recognize that conventional goodness is often a liability, that sentimentality is exploited, and that influence is built upon comprehension, not approval. The intelligent strategist does not flinch at discomfort. They embrace it as a lens through which the world is revealed. Consider ambition as a fire. It must be controlled, directed, and maintained. Morality alone cannot contain it. Naivete cannot fuel it. Only strategy, precision, and foresight can turn raw desire into influence, survival into dominance. To stop being good is to stoke this fire with awareness, to wield it with intelligence, and to avoid the distractions of sentiment that would smother its strength. Machiavelli's teachings are not cold abstractions. They are practical instruments for navigating a world governed by self-interest. They strip away illusion, reveal human mechanics, and empower those willing to act with clarity, patience, and resolve. Every encounter, every decision, every relationship is a test of perception and control. Those who cling to conventional morality fail not because they lack heart, but because they lack awareness. They fail because they underestimate the ambition of others, overestimate the protection offered by goodwill, and ignore the subtle interplay of fear, desire, and influence. To embrace Machiavellian strategy is to see through the veil, to act without hesitation, to recognize that ethical comfort is a luxury reserved for the powerless. It is to cultivate a mind attuned to outcome, consequence, and control, to wield influence like a sculptor shapes marble, unseen but absolute in effect. And yet, this path is not without peril. To navigate it is to confront the shadows of your own ambition, to temper instinct with calculation, to balance empathy with detachment. The temptation to wield power without restraint is ever present. The challenge lies in combining clarity with subtlety, insight with patience, foresight with adaptability. Machiavelli's world is unforgiving, but it is also knowable. Every human motive is a tool, every fear a lever, every desire a key. To stop being good is not to abandon conscience entirely, but to subordinate it to clarity, to strategy, to the unvarnished truth of cause and effect. Step further into this understanding, and you begin to see the elegance of human mechanics, the silent manipulation of influence, the quiet orchestration of perception, the discipline, application of leverage. Virtue becomes a mask, strategy the engine beneath it. Decisions are no longer dictated by approval, fear of reprisal, or sentiment, but by calculation, opportunity, and desired outcome. And in this mastery, in this disciplined orchestration of influence, you find not moral corruption, but the power to shape reality itself. Machiavelli does not offer comfort, he offers comprehension, and comprehension, when wielded with precision, is far more potent than any moral ideal. Do you feel the weight of it yet? The oppressive gravity of a world that does not bend for your morals, that does not pause for your conscience, that does not reward the naive kindness that you cling to like a talisman? The truth is brutal, unrelenting, and necessary. The world functions not on ideals, but on consequence. Every interaction, every choice, every whispered word carries momentum that you must anticipate, shape, and, when necessary, redirect. To stop being good is not an abandonment of humanity, it is a sharpening of the senses, an awakening to the mechanisms of survival and dominance. The moment you cling to the illusion of moral safety, you surrender the initiative. The moment you believe that fairness or virtue protects you, you expose yourself to the predation of those who understand reality with unflinching clarity. Machiavelli's mind is a labyrinth of observation and insight. He teaches that power is neither earned nor granted. It is seized, maintained, and expanded through awareness, action, and perception. Those who act purely from conscience are visible. They are predictable, and predictability is vulnerability. Observe them, and you see how quickly good intentions are exploited. Witness how easily morality can be twisted into naivety. Witness how the world does not reward virtue, but favors clarity, decisiveness, and strategy. To move beyond goodness is to grasp this truth, to internalize it, and to allow it to shape every action with ruthless precision, without hesitation, without apology. The enlightened strategist acts with vision, unburdened by sentimental constraints, guided by a singular clarity of purpose. Consider the subtle art of influence. Influence is not coercion, it is the quiet orchestration of perception. Every word you speak, every action you take, every gesture you make is interpreted, analyzed, and measured. Those who cling to conventional morality do not notice this. They act as though the world will reward them for honesty, for fairness, for a fleeting sense of righteousness. But Machiavelli teaches differently. To influence effectively, you must manipulate not just reality, but the perception of reality. You must project strength while concealing ambition, kindness while concealing calculation, decisiveness while masking intent. The mind that comprehends these nuances wields power silently, efficiently, with surgical precision. The moralist, by contrast, is a target, exposed and predictable, often destroyed by the very systems they refuse to understand. Every relationship is a battlefield. Every alliance is a negotiation. Every encounter a test of perception and leverage. To insist on goodness without strategy is to place yourself at a disadvantage, to enter the fray unarmed, while others wield insight as weapon and shield. Observe how those who succeed are not the ones praised for virtue, but the ones feared for clarity, respected for foresight, and admired, when at all, for their effectiveness. Morality, in its conventional sense, is irrelevant. What matters is influence, control, and the ability to orchestrate outcomes in your favor. Machiavelli's philosophy is a manual for this orchestration, a map of human ambition, a blueprint for navigating desire, fear, and opportunity with relentless precision. Deception, subtlety, and timing are the pillars of effective strategy. Not every act requires cruelty. Not every decision demands dishonesty. What matters is the alignment of action with outcome. To stop being good in the naive sense is to master this alignment, to synchronize intent with consequence, to act in a manner that achieves dominance without unnecessary exposure. The world rewards those who understand the levers of human behavior, those who anticipate reactions, those who position themselves not only to survive but to thrive. Every lie, every concealment, every act of strategic kindness is a tool, a lever to shape perception, a means to control the narrative. The moralist, in contrast, is blind to these mechanisms, exposed and vulnerable in a society that prizes understanding above sentiment. Observe ambition. It is a fire that burns in every human chest, varying in intensity, obscured by civility, masked by politeness, and hidden beneath lay. Heiress of societal expectation. Some extinguish it out of fear or morality, others fan it with precision, harnessing it to achieve dominance. Machiavelli's insight is that human ambition is predictable, malleable, and exploitable. Those who fail to see this are enslaved by it. Those who understand it bend it to purpose. To stop striving to be good is to step into this current, to navigate it with awareness, and to manipulate it with intelligence. Every desire becomes a key, every fear a lever, every hesitation a tool. The world is no longer a place of moral certainty, but a landscape of opportunity, risk, and strategic choice. Even the perception of morality can be weaponized. To appear virtuous while acting with clarity is a skill, a dance of shadows and light that misdirects observers while securing advantage. Machiavelli recognized that reputation is a currency, sometimes more valuable than gold, sometimes more fragile than glass. To wield it effectively, one must cultivate the appearance of goodness while remaining unbound by its limitations. The naive, conversely, display their virtue openly, making themselves predictable, manipulable, and ultimately powerless. To stop being good is to understand this delicate balance, to embrace the appearance of virtue as a strategic tool rather than a moral obligation, to act decisively without apology, and to secure outcomes without being constrained by sentiment. Fear and respect remain essential instruments of control. Those who are feared are acknowledged, those who are respected are deferred to, those who are merely liked are powerless. Machiavelli's brilliance lies in the integration of these dynamics, to instill fear without hatred, to command respect without arrogance, to manipulate perception without detection. Conventional morality rarely achieves this balance. Sentiment alone cannot inspire loyalty, nor can virtue alone command obedience. Strategy achieves both. To stop striving to be good is to recognize that influence is built upon understanding, anticipation, and execution, not approval or affection. The intelligent operator uses morality as a tool, not a constraint, and manipulates outcomes with relentless precision. The world is a theater, and every human interaction is a scene. The moralist believes in scripts, in acts of goodness that will be rewarded. The strategist understands the improvisation, the subtle cues, the unspoken negotiations that dictate outcomes. Machiavelli's lessons are an invitation to see beyond the surface, to read intention behind words, to discern desire beneath gestures, to anticipate the unseen forces that guide action. To stop being good is to awaken to this theater, to act with awareness, to shape outcomes without reliance on approval, and to navigate the currents of human behavior with unerring precision. The naive suffer because they are blind, the intelligent prosper because they see, calculate, and execute. Ambition, perception, control, these are the instruments of survival. Morality, when untempered by strategy, is a weakness. Compassion, when naive, is a liability. The Machiavellian mind does not reject empathy. It refines it, channels it, and uses it as a means of understanding and influencing others. To stop being good is to embrace this refinement, to see human behavior wit. Clarity, to anticipate consequence, and to act decisively without attachment to approval. Influence is cultivated. Dominance is orchestrated, and power is achieved not through sentiment, but through comprehension and precision. Those who cling to conventional goodness are swept aside. Those who embrace strategy navigate the world as masters, unseen yet undeniable. Now, feel the weight of this understanding pressing against the comfort of your conscience. The world is not forgiving. It does not pause for virtue. It rewards insight, decisiveness, and strategic mastery. To survive, to command, to influence, you must step beyond the illusions of goodness, understand the mechanisms of human desire, fear, and ambition, and act with ruthless precision. Machiavelli's teachings are not moral platitudes. They are instruments of clarity, tools for navigation in a landscape where the naive perish and the perceptive ascend. To stop being good is not cruelty, it is mastery. It is the recognition that in a world governed by consequence, awareness is the greatest weapon, and strategy the only true safeguard. Have you felt it yet? The relentless pressure of a world that neither forgives nor hesitates, a world that sees your virtue as opportunity and your hesitation as weakness? The naive cling to goodness like a shield, believing it will protect them, believing that fairness and moral consistency will safeguard their position. But Machiavelli understood something essential. Morality is rarely protection. It is often exposure. The world does not reward the pure of heart. It rewards the calculated, the observant, the precise. To stop being good is to recognize that your instincts for kindness and fairness, while human, are luxuries in a landscape defined by ambition, manipulation, and power. You must temper them, channel them, or risk being devoured by those who do not hesitate, who do not pause for conscience, who act with ruthless clarity. Consider the subtle architecture of influence. People are not as they appear. Their smiles conceal desire, their gestures mask strategy, and their words are calculated to conceal weakness or exploit yours. The Machiavellian mind perceives these layers as clearly as a hunter sees the shadows of prey moving through the forest. To navigate this terrain, you must learn to observe without judgment, to interpret without attachment, to act without hesitation. Every interaction becomes a test of perception, a test of timing, a test of your ability to anticipate and manipulate the desires and fears of others. Those who insist on acting good without strategy are doomed to fail, not because their intentions are flawed, but because they are predictable. Predictability is vulnerability, and vulnerability is fatal in the theater of human ambition. Deception is not a sin in this calculus. It is a tool. To wield it effectively, you must understand its anatomy. Every lie must be measured, every concealment deliberate, every act of misdirection purposeful. The world is not changed by truth alone. It is shaped by perception. Those who understand this manipulate not only outcomes but expectations. They sculpt reality with subtlety, bending events and people to their will, without overt force, without unnecessary exposure. The moralist acts transparently, believing that integrity will protect them. The strategist acts in shadows, calculating consequences and exploiting opportunities. To stop being good is to embrace the power of strategic concealment, to use perception as armor, and to understand that influence is the currency of survival. Power is rarely seized through confrontation alone. It is cultivated through anticipation, subtle dominance, and control of narrative. The clever strategist understands that the human mind is a field of levers. Fear, desire, hope, envy, and ambition are all tools to be used with care and precision. Those who fail to recognize this are slaves to circumstance, manipulated by those who see clearly. Machiavelli's insight was that dominance is not brute force. It is orchestration. It is the quiet mastery of perception, the meticulous application of pressure, the patient cultivation of influence. To stop being good is to embrace the responsibility and burden of this mastery, to act decisively without relying on the comfort of moral approval, and to recognize that the naive suffer while the perceptive thrive. Every encounter is a negotiation, whether explicit or unspoken. Every relationship carries potential leverage. Every silence is a test, every smile a signal. To act with conventional goodness is to ignore this subtle choreography, to step blindly into a game you do not understand. The Machiavellian mind reads beneath the surface, interpreting intention, anticipating reaction, and guiding outcome. Influence becomes an art form, strategy a second nature. Compassion and empathy, when refined and controlled, are no longer weaknesses. They are tools of perception, instruments to manipulate understanding, keys to unlocking cooperation and compliance. To stop being good is to see human behavior as a network of levers, switches, and variables, and to act with clarity and control at every junction. Fear and respect must be carefully balanced. Those who inspire only admiration are fragile. Those who instill only fear risk rebellion. Machiavelli's brilliance lay in understanding that both must be calibrated, that influence is maintained through perception as much as through action. Moral rigidity seldom achieves this balance. Sentiment alone cannot command obedience, nor can virtue alone secure authority. The strategist must project strength while concealing intent, guide outcomes without revealing manipulation, and orchestrate perception without revealing the mechanics beneath. To stop striving to be good is to master this delicate equilibrium, to wield influence with both subtlety and precision, and to ensure survival and dominance in a world indifferent to virtue. Human desire is predictable, and yet it is potent. Every individual is motivated by a combination of ambition, fear, envy, and hope. The Machiavellian mind observes these currents as a captain observes wind and tide, adjusting course with foresight and precision. Those who cling to goodness cannot navigate these currents. They are carried by them, helpless, exposed, and at the mercy of those who act with awareness. To stop being good is to study these motivations, anticipate reactions, and act in ways that align consequence with strategy. Every opportunity becomes a lever, every hesitation a risk, every interaction a test of control. The naive perish because they misunderstand motive. The perceptive survive because they master it. Consider the subtle dance of power. Influence is rarely displayed in grand gestures. It is orchestrated in silence, in timing, in the invisible threads of manipulation that guide others to act in accordance with your design. The strategist understands when to speak, when to remain silent, when to advance, and when to retreat. Conventional morality is too slow, too rigid, too transparent to operate within this framework. To stop being good is to embrace the fluidity of circumstance, to act with anticipation, to manipulate without exposure, and to cultivate an unyielding presence that commands both respect and subtle fear. The intelligent operator bends reality without force, guiding outcome while remaining unseen, orchestrating influence with precision, and never revealing the hands that move the pieces. Ambition and perception, when harnessed with understanding, are unstoppable forces. The moralist is shackled by expectation and sentiment. The strategist is liberated by clarity and insight. Machiavelli observed that those who cling to virtue are often outmaneuvered by those who understand consequence, leverage, and influence. To stop being good is to step into the current of human behavior fully aware, to anticipate, to manipulate, and to act decisively. Every encounter, every decision, every relationship becomes an opportunity to exert control, to shape perception, and to achieve dominance. Virtue is a mask, strategy the engine beneath it, and clarity of thought the guiding hand that orchestrates every move. And yet, mastery requires discipline. To act strategically is to temper impulse with calculation, empathy with detachment, and observation with decisive action. Machiavelli's lessons are not about cruelty, they are about clarity. They are about seeing the world as it is, not as it should be, and acting accordingly. To stop being good is to embrace this clarity, to navigate the treacherous currents of human ambition, and to wield influence without hesitation or moral attachment. Those who cling to sentiment and conventional morality are swept aside, while those who master perception, leverage, and timing command outcomes unseen, undeniable, and inevitable. To walk this path is to wield power not as a tool of ego, but as an instrument of survival and mastery in a world defined by consequence. Do you feel the shift within yourself, the subtle awakening as the comforting illusions of morality begin to crumble under the weight of reality? There is no salvation in goodness alone. It is a fragile mask, a false currency, easily exploited by those who see beyond sentiment. Machiavelli understood that human beings are guided by desire, fear, and self-interest, not by ethics or conscience. To survive and thrive, you must master the art of influence, control, and perception. To stop being good is to step into this reality fully, to strip away the comforting lies of virtue, and to see the world not as you wish it to be, but as it truly is, a complex network of motives, ambitions, and vulnerabilities waiting to be understood, anticipated, and when necessary, manipulated. Every interaction becomes a battlefield, every relationship a test of leverage. The naive act with morality as a shield, believing it protects them, while the perceptive act with strategy as their armor. Machiavelli would say that the world respects power far more than goodness, it obeys consequence far more than intent. To stop being good is to recognize this unvarnished truth and to wield it with ruthless clarity. Observation becomes your tool, anticipation your weapon, and timing your ally. You begin to see the hidden currents of human behavior, the envy concealed behind camaraderie, the ambition cloaked in loyalty, the fear buried beneath confidence. To manipulate effectively, you must read these currents, position yourself within them, and act decisively before others perceive your intent. Consider the subtle power of perception. Humans rarely judge actions themselves. They judge the appearances of actions. A display of strength can command loyalty even without overt dominance. A carefully timed retreat can create illusions of restraint that manipulate expectation. A measured act of generosity can conceal strategy while gaining influence. Machiavelli's insight was that perception is reality, and reality is shaped by those who control it. To stop striving to be good is to harness this principle, to orchestrate outcomes by controlling what others perceive, while remaining unbound by the constraints of morality. Influence becomes a silent force, imperceptible yet absolute in effect. Deception, when deployed with precision, becomes a form of armor, not deception for malice, but deception for survival and advancement. The world does not reward innocence, it exploits it. Every lie, every concealment, every subtle misdirection is a calculated tool designed to protect, to advance, and to manipulate outcomes in your favor. The moralist exposes themselves with every act of naive honesty, predictable in their intentions, vulnerable to exploitation. The strategist conceals, anticipates, and maneuvers. They read desire and fear as clearly as an architect reads blueprints, shaping outcomes without exposing the mechanisms that guide them. To stop being good is to embrace this control, to use perception as armor, and to act with precision unburdened by sentiment. Ambition is the fire that drives all human action, and it is predictable. Desire, envy, fear, and hope move silently beneath the surface, influencing decisions and shaping behavior. To stop being good is to study these currents, to anticipate their effects, and to exploit them strategically. Every opportunity becomes a lever. Every hesitation a vulnerability, every encounter a test of your ability to read and manipulate. Machiavelli teaches that those who cling to conventional morality are swept aside by those who understand these dynamics. Only those who combine awareness with decisive action survive, and only those who master perception and influence dominate. The most dangerous and effective manipulator is not overtly cruel. They are subtle, patient, and disciplined. They guide others without revealing their hand, shaping perception while advancing objectives. To stop being good is to cultivate this patience, to temper impulse with calculation, to wield empathy as insight rather than as moral obligation. Observe desire, anticipate reaction, exploit expectation, and execute with precision. Morality becomes a mask, strategy the engine beneath it, and clarity of thought the compass that directs every move. The world does not reward virtue. It rewards foresight, influence, and unerring execution. Control is not merely about dominance, it is about orchestration. The perceptive strategist does not force obedience through force alone. They guide perception, manipulate expectation, and create circumstances that lead others to act in accordance with their design. Fear and respect are instruments, carefully balanced to maintain influence without provoking rebellion. Conventional morality is too rigid, too transparent, too slow to navigate this delicate architecture. To stop being good is to master this balance, to understand the interplay of human desire, fear, and ambition, and to act with relentless precision. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to exert influence, to shape perception, and to achieve dominance without exposure. Every human is a network of vulnerabilities, every interaction a test of anticipation and leverage. Machiavelli teaches that the world is a theater where perception outweighs reality, where consequence outweighs intent, and where strategy outweighs sentiment. To stop being good is to step into this theater fully aware, to observe without bias, to anticipate without hesitation, and to manipulate without remorse. The moralist is predictable, exposed, and weak. The strategist is unseen, calculated, and inevitable. To embrace this understanding is to equip yourself with the tools of survival, influence, and power in a world governed not by ethics, but by consequence. The path is not easy. The pull of conscience, the pressure of social expectation, the seductive comfort of moral approval, they all whisper, tempting you to return to the illusion of goodness. But every step back is vulnerability, every compromise of clarity is exposure, every act of sentiment is risk. To stop being good is to resist these pressures, to prioritize insight over approval, strategy over sentiment, and survival over comfort. It is to embrace a clarity that illuminates not only the weaknesses of others, but your own, allowing you to act with precision and control. Only then can you navigate the currents of human ambition, exploitation, and desire without being swept aside. The ultimate lesson is simple yet brutal. The world is not just. It does not admire intention. It rewards consequence. Virtue, in its conventional sense, is often a liability. To stop being good is to recognize this, to master the mechanisms of influence and perception, and to act decisively in alignment with the realities of human behavior. Every relationship, every negotiation, every encounter becomes an opportunity to shape reality, to control perception, and to achieve dominance. Machiavelli's teachings are not morality, they are mastery. And mastery, when wielded with discipline and clarity, is far more potent than goodness ever could be. The moment you embrace this philosophy, you step into a new realm of understanding. You see the hidden forces behind every gesture, every word, every interaction. You anticipate fear, desire, and ambition before they are expressed. You manipulate outcomes without exposing your intent, guiding circumstance with subtlety and precision. To stop being good is not cruelty, it is survival. It is strategy, it is clarity, it is the awakening of a mind capable of navigating the unflinching realities of human behavior, bending them to purpose, and commanding outcomes that the naive and moralistic can only dream of. The world does not wait for the virtuous, it waits for the perceptive, the calculating, the disciplined. And now it waits for you. Now, look into the mirror of your own reflection and ask yourself, are you willing to step beyond the comforting lies of virtue, and face the raw machinery of the world? Can you abandon the illusion that goodness alone shields you from consequence, from exploitation, from irrelevance? To stop being good is to awaken, to see with clarity the currents of desire, fear, and ambition that shape every human interaction. The world does not bend for the moral, it yields only to the perceptive, the strategic, the disciplined. Every moment you cling to sentiment is a moment wasted, every act of naive kindness a potential weakness, every hesitation a gift to those who act decisively. To live fully, to influence unrelentingly, to survive unshaken, you must step into the darkness of understanding and claim mastery over the currents that others do not even perceive. Imagine the faces around you as moving equations, every word a variable, every gesture a signal, every silence a strategy. You can no longer afford to be blind to these patterns. Machiavelli teaches that morality is neither armor nor shield. It is a lens that distorts the vision of the world. To wield power, to navigate influence, to orchestrate perception, you must remove that lens. Strip yourself of comforting illusions and see the world with unflinching precision. Do not delude yourself that intentions matter more than outcomes, that virtue secures trust, that kindness ensures safety. These are myths that the naive cling to, while the perceptive bend circumstance to their will, unseen, unchallenged, unstoppable. You will encounter resistance, external and internal, society, upbringing, conscience. They will all scream, urging you to return to the false security of conventional goodness. You will feel guilt, hesitation, even fear. But these are not signs of weakness, they are tests of clarity and resolve. To succeed, to dominate, to survive, you must integrate them into strategy, temper them with awareness, and act despite them. Machiavelli understood that the world does not reward hesitation, does not forgive weakness, and does not admire the morally bound. It respects only those who observe, anticipate, and execute with unrelenting precision. To stop being good is to align with this truth, to act with clarity, to wield influence without apology, and to command outcomes without restraint. The true mastery of human behavior is subtle, quiet, almost invisible. It is in the patient orchestration of perception, the anticipation of reaction, the careful deployment of fear and respect. It is in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to advance and when to retreat, when to conceal and when to reveal. The naive cannot see this, the moralistic cannot act upon it. But you, if you embrace the Machiavellian path, can. To stop being good is to claim the power of discernment, to understand that morality alone is impotent, and to wield influence with deliberate, calculated precision. You are no longer subject to circumstance, you become the architect of it, bending human behavior, guiding outcomes, and shaping reality in alignment with purpose. Every ambition, every desire, every fear becomes an instrument, a lever, a key to influence. You learn to read intention behind words, motive beneath gestures, and fear beneath confidence. You manipulate without exposure, guide outcomes without overt force, and orchestrate perception without revealing the mechanics that control it. To stop being good is not cruelty, it is mastery. It is the awakening of a mind capable of navigating the relentless currents of human behavior, of understanding the shadows where others stumble blindly, and of acting decisively where others hesitate. You are no longer constrained by moral illusion, you are liberated by clarity, empowered by strategy, and armed with insight that others cannot even perceive. Power, influence, survival. These are not prizes handed down by virtue, they are seized by awareness, honed through observation, and executed with discipline. To stop being good is to claim these prizes, to operate with precision where others flounder, to bend circumstance to will, to navigate desire and fear with ruthless intelligence. The world is unforgiving to the unprepared, to the moralistic, to the naive. It bends to those who see, who act, who control. Machiavelli's teachings are not comforting, they are uncompromising. They demand that you discard the illusions of morality, strip away the soft comforts of sentiment, and step into the arena of human behavior, fully aware, fully prepared, fully armed with clarity and purpose. And now, standing on the precipice of understanding, you face a choice: to retreat into the illusions of virtue and remain powerless, exposed and manipulated, or to embrace the cold, disciplined mind of strategy, to wield influence with unflinching precision, and to claim mastery over yourself and the world around you. Stop seeking approval. Stop seeking moral absolution. Stop trying to be good in the way others define it. Step into clarity. Step into control. Step into power. Observe, anticipate, manipulate, and execute. Bend circumstance to will. Read fear and desire as tools, not obstacles. Move decisively where others hesitate. The world will not pause for morality, and neither will your opportunity. The only path to survival, dominance, and influence is to stop being good, to stop surrendering to sentiment, and to embrace the Machiavellian mind fully. This is your moment. The illusions fade, the shadows lift, the currents of human behavior lay bare before you. Take hold of them, shape them, master them. The world is ruthless, indifferent, and unforgiving, but it bends to those who understand it. To stop being good is to awaken. To awaken is to see. To see is to act, and to act with clarity, precision, and unflinching purpose is to become unstoppable. Step forward. The currents of power await. The levers of influence are yours to command, and the world, relentless and unyielding, bows only to the prepared, the perceptive, and the strategic. Stop being good. Start being unstoppable.